Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. Our guest today, I can't believe that we have Mel Kleiman today. This is Smart Business Moves.
Yeah. Okay. I know people are going to be so excited that you're here today, Mel, as part of, the big, one of the big names in our industry, people that we can actually rely on when we're talking about hiring and recruiting and retention. People are so stressed these days that I know they're going to be excited. But Tom, before we get started with Mel, we got to do a little housekeeping. We haven't been here in forever.
We haven't. We've taken
I
some
think I've
time
been
off
around
now.
forever. That's the problem.
I think we've been gone at least 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to be back. We do this every Wednesday, Mel, and I guess the last couple of Wednesdays we had other commitments and things, so we've been a bit slack. We used to do this 5 days a week, 5 hours a day of live streaming, and this
For a
was back
year.
when COVID was top of mind, and we decided that this was a hobby we just had to pare back on a little bit.
Yeah. We like doing it, but we don't like doing it at the detriment of all of our other companies.
Right.
Which was
We had other
happening.
stakeholders that were reminding us that we had real jobs too.
Yeah.
So we had to. Is there anything in particular, Liz, that we need to address before we get started?
I don't think anything new, Tom, with the numbers. You always bring us some good numbers or bad numbers about hiring, or you got anything for us?
Well, I don't know about hiring. I guess the general sentiment in the economy is going in a bad direction, and that actually might wind up being good news for us from a hiring standpoint at some point in the future if the economy actually cools down a little bit. But nothing serious. I'm just blown away that we got Mel. Mel, this is the first time you've been a guest on Smart Business Moves, and I've been a fan. I know Liz has too of yours for the longest time. The books that you've written. Actually, you're probably the most authoritative voice in the industry on this whole thing of how to hire in an effective, productive way. And it's true. We have a lot of guests here, and I rarely say this, but I'm truly honored to have you here today. Thank you for being a guest.
Yeah, thank you.
It's interesting to look when we talk about hiring today. I hate to admit I've been doing this over 40 years. Okay. I started when I was 7. So I actually really started really first hiring people when I was 18 or 19 years old. And my father had a business, and I got involved in interviewing and hiring at that point in time. And then my background from there, when I went to school, I ended up working for Hoover vacuum cleaner. Okay. And I haven't told this. I don't think I've ever told this story online, but I went to work for Hoover vacuum cleaner. I was not a door-to-door salesman, but I was in Houston, Texas, and I was a demonstrator on a retail floor.
Okay.
And I always remember, because that's where I started, and I did a pretty good job. That was my junior year in college, and they ended up putting me over hiring demonstrators, and I had 14 demonstrators. By the time I was 22, I had 14 demonstrators working for me all over these retail stores. So I actually got back in hiring literally starting then. I don't think I've ever told anybody I started in the vacuum cleaner business.
I didn't know that. I don't remember ever hearing that. That's for sure. And I've heard you speak a lot.
Was that when people would go door to door? They go door to door and knock on the door?
I wasn't in door to door.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was with Hoover, and the fact of the matter is, it was just starting on a floor, and I could tell all kinds of stories about it, but I'm not going to go into that today. But the interesting part, and that I'm telling so long ago that I've been involved in this, is I went back recently, and I pulled up some things I wrote actually 30 years ago. And the number one problem we were talking about 30 years ago? Hiring.
Same problem we're dealing with
finding
today,
people. Right? It used to be, but the problem is it used to be a battle. It's now become a war.
Yeah.
Okay. And especially when we talk to all of you in Maid Central, the fact of the matter is, as I've talked to a number of maid groups over the years, the fact of the matter is, if you bought if you're in the maid business franchise or you have your own company, the fact of the matter is you are not in the house cleaning business. You are in the staffing business. And I think you've got to recognize that you are in the business of staffing people to clean houses.
It's a good
And the
perspective.
winners recognize that we're not in the house cleaning business, but we're in the staffing business. And as we become better at staffing, we don't have a difficult time. Most of us don't have a difficult time getting customers. If you have quality people to clean houses, you have no problem getting quality customers who want you to clean their houses. So you've got to look at your business that way, not as a maid cleaning business, but as a house cleaning business, but as a staffing business. And I think if you change that perspective, you're already ahead of most of the competition.
That makes a lot of sense, Mel. It happens to be, house cleaning is the service we provide, but our success is going to be defined by how good we are at building a workforce.
Yeah, it's the fact of the matter is, if you do a great job, I won't use this as a maid cleaning example, but I use this in a similar business as yard maintenance. Okay. When I moved into this house 17 years ago in this subdivision, I'm in a small subdivision with about 237 houses in our total subdivision. It's a really unique subdivision. I brought my yard man with me. Okay. Because his family has been doing my yard for over 30 years. And this is the second generation that's doing my yard today. Okay. So I was the only one. He parks his truck in my driveway. He does the house to my left. He does 4 houses to the right. He does 5 houses behind me. He now does 33 houses out of 227. And he's never made a sales call.
Wow. Yeah, that's true, right? Word of mouth. You're right. If you do good work, you'll get calls.
If you've got the people and you have good systems, you will have the business. So recognize what business you're in. That's number one. And that's the key. And that's what you've got to be. That's what you got to be great at. Not good at. You got to be great. I just did another presentation the other day, and I did something. I pulled up. I have hundreds of quotes on hiring. I mean, I can give you all kinds of. If you beat your competition, the best employees, your best employees will help you beat your competition. I got all kinds of one-liners, but I pulled up 4 of them. I pulled up the first one, interestingly enough, from I attribute it, and I think it came from Sam Walton, who said, the most important decision a manager makes every single day is who he allows in the door to help him take care of his customer.
Okay.
That was the number one quote. Yeah. And that's the most important decision you make. The second quote came from Herb Keller, founder of Southwest Airlines. And Herb Keller was a kind of in-your-face manager. And he said, bluntly, the day we screw up, and that was his word, the day we screw up the people thing, it's all over. And he built Southwest Airlines based on the people thing are not our customers first, they're our employees first. But the day we screw up hiring people and the day we screw up motivating people and treating our customers and our employees with respect. And in fact, Herb Keller fired customers because they were too difficult to deal with his employees.
Nice.
And literally, he wrote letters to people and said, since we can't make you happy, we'll no longer sell you a ticket.
Don't even try. Here's United's phone number.
We tried to make you happy, and you keep finding problem with our employees. And you know what? Our employees don't need your aggravation.
Nice.
So we're not going to sell you a ticket anymore. That was Herb Keller. Red Auerbach, most winningest coach in the NBA. I love his quote. If you hire the wrong people, all the fancy management techniques in the world will not bail you out.
Oh, that's good. What team does he coach for?
I'm sorry?
What team does he coach for?
He used to coach
Boston Red Sox. For the Boston Celtics. Okay, so if you look at him, and then you turn around, and my favorite quote, one of my favorites, and I have a few, but I'm going to take credit for it. If you, managers get the people they deserve, they hired them.
Mm.
That's the key. You hired them.
Yeah.
You made them in. You kept them. You deserve what you got.
And you kind of create them too. If they've been with your company any amount of time, right? Yeah.
So you get what you deserve. Okay.
Yeah,
The fact that, and here's a one line. If I was in this session, and I'm going to try and get, I'll go back. I try and deal with uncommon common sense.
Mm-hmm.
I try and just deal with common sense ideas. If they're not common sense and they don't feel right, don't buy it. People aren't going to buy it. Okay. There's all kinds of these fancy management theories and all the other stuff. I'm looking for things. How do you deal with it? Common sense is dealing with the limited. How do you maximize limited resources to get the most results out of them?
Huh?
Right.
And
We talk about that a lot.
And so here's the common sense ideas. If I was sitting in this webinar and I would have go back, if you hadn't done it, I'd get a piece of paper and I would write those 4 quotes down. I would write down that quote that bluntly, the most important decision you make as a manager is who you allow in the door to help you take care of your customer. Remember that. I would remember bluntly that you can't screw up the people thing. I would remember bluntly that if I hire the wrong people, you know what? You're not going to fix them. Why are you wasting your time? Most of us as managers spend all of our time dealing with our problems instead of dealing with our great people. And bluntly, you deserve the people you hired because you hired them or you kept them.
How many hours do we spend as managers trying to fix problems that if we spent that time hiring the right people and developing the right people, the problem wouldn't even have been a problem to begin with?
Yeah. And in fact, the problem is okay. Here's the one-liner.
Okay.
The worst behavior you accept from any employee tells every other employee how bad they can be and still keep their job.
Yeah. I'm actually coaching somebody right now around this entire idea because he really, really, really wants to keep this employee that he has had working for him for 3 years, but all the other employees keep seeing her get away with everything, doing everything she's not supposed to do. But I cannot get him to agree. I can't get him to let her go. He's like, no, we can't afford it. She's been here too long. People love her. She's all of the things. So I'm going to tell him that Mel Kleiman said, you got to let him go or let her go. You're getting what you deserve.
Yeah. I did a presentation last week and it was live and wonderful and in front of people. And that's really what I love doing. That's why I do this anymore. It's exciting to help people get better. And we got to talking about the employee from hell. Okay. Let me tell you about this employee hell because it's absolutely a fascinating story. This is in the convenience store industry. Okay. Now, let me tell you about this employee. This employee from hell is absolutely a fabulous employee. How's that? He is dependable. He is reliable. He shows up for work on time. He does whatever needs to be done. He is great at training other people. If you need an extra shift work, he'll come and work it. He'll do whatever it takes. There's only one problem. The drawer never comes up short.
Never comes up short or even.
The drawer always comes up over. Yeah. You know what that means? Mm-hmm. This employee is stealing.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay. We know the employee is stealing. Okay. We know it.
Yeah.
But he's really good at it because he maximizes theft between $35 and $50 a shift. Mm. But I can't find any. So, but the manager is saying, but I can't find anybody else who will do what he does.
Yeah. But I'm willing to pay him an extra $50 a shift to do this. Yeah.
But what does it tell every other? Don't you think other employees know he's stealing?
Of course.
Yeah.
What does it
Well,
tell?
probably
there's
telling
you
them.
can steal up to $50, but don't go over $50.
That's
Yeah.
that's the employee from hell.
Mhm.
And especially in today's world, we put up with things that we would never have put up with because we say, I can't replace them. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the key. You just think about it. Just think about what is the message you're sending to every one of your other employees? What is the message you're sending as a manager and an owner out there? If you're willing to accept theft, that tells,
Yeah.
that tells
And you know what? Even if you do have great employees and they're not stealing, they're seeing that, they feel defeated. I don't feel motivated to work for a company where the owner is letting somebody steal. That's not a good working environment for me. I don't want to work there. I want to work somewhere else. So even if I'm a great employee, I'm not stealing and I'm doing all the things I should, you're pushing me out by accepting that behavior.
I can, we could spend the whole time talking about employee theft. We can talk about bluntly, do you ask honesty questions in your interview? Are you literally asking honesty questions in your interview? Are you, you can't ask people about criminal record. It's an illegal question to ask people about criminal record. Okay. So how do you ask it? I happen to love this question, and I won't use either one of you as example. I won't make you answer this question. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I love this question. To ask an employee, what's the worst trouble you've ever been in?
Mhm.
That's the question.
That's a hard question. I've been in a lot of trouble. Come on, Mel,
Yeah?
that's hard.
Well, you're volunteering, so I'm going to say.
Well,
really,
give us an
what's the
example,
worst-
Liz.
What's the worst trouble you've ever been in? What would you, if you were in an interview and somebody asked you, what was the worst trouble you've ever been in? How would you answer it?
You wouldn't like my answer. I'd say, well, I'll tell you the worst trouble I've ever been in that I'm willing to admit to out loud. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Was what?
I'll tell you the worst thing I've ever done that I'm willing to admit to in this interview. And it is, I can't even think. There's so many things. I don't know. I've been in trouble for speeding. What else? Worst trouble I've ever been in. I feel like it's too hard of a question because there's too many answers. So which one's the worst? Like, which one's your favorite book?
Okay. So let me give you another piece of interviewing advice.
Yeah.
When somebody has difficulty answering the question, what do we normally do as interviewers? We help them. We help them, right?
Yeah, I do.
We help them answer it.
Yeah.
When you ask a question that somebody has a difficult time answering, you need to remember this line. Write this one down.
Okay.
I understand that's a very difficult question. Take as much time as you need to think about it.
That's a good answer.
Basically, you're telling them that I'm not letting you get away without answering this. We'll
and
sit
I'm not
here
doing
all day if we
That's
have
it,
to.
Tom. And I'm not
and I'm not going to give you an easy out.
I give myself permission to be quiet.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I love that. I love that answer. And it also, like for me, it would give me permission to actually really think now. Because in an interview, you do feel pressured to give kind of fast answers. But that answer is like, you saying that is like, okay, so I actually have time. I'm going to have to come up with something good. I can't, and I'm going to have to come up with something good that's really bad. Or he's going to know that I'm not like being honest.
So the key is, it gives me permission to be quiet. And the most powerful questions you ask are the questions of silence. So I've said, take as much time as you need to think about it. So Liz, what's the worst trouble you've ever been in?
Well, we don't have that much time for you to be quiet.
I've got
on
all
this
the time
call,
it
Mel.
takes, Liz. Tom and I, to get this answer, we would take the whole hour just to
This
get
is
this
important.
answer.
I guess doing drugs. I guess that's the worst trouble I've ever been in, is doing
Was
drugs.
what?
Doing drugs.
Drug? Okay.
Drugs.
And I could go expand on it, but I'm not going to ask you to. But
Thank
when
you.
you ask the question and you get an answer, you do one other thing. You say, Liz, is that really the worst trouble you've ever been in? Because it's the second answer that's even more important than the first answer. And the fact of the matter is, in the house cleaning business, we have to ask that question.
But but what about this, Mel? Nobody's going to tell you, are they? Maybe they are. Maybe they're going to say, well, I guess the worst trouble I've ever been in was when I robbed my friend's house. Is somebody going to tell you that?
Yes, they will. If you ask, oh yeah.
All right.
Especially if you say, is that really the worst trouble you've ever been in?
I can see how they will give you a worse answer if you ask that question, for sure.
If you never ask the question, you'll never get the answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
It's
I love it.
So and there are other honesty, integrity, and honesty questions we can ask. There's actually a piece of the interviewing where you need to, before you start, you have to set up people to tell you the truth. And we could, so we can sit there and say, okay, Tom, we need to set the groundwork to what we're going to do in an interview. If this whole program was on interviewing. So, you sit there and you position people to tell you the truth. I will tell you that most of the people in almost every hourly hiring situation, most people conduct interviews that are totally wasted.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't built the interviewing to really get what they need, because bluntly, most of them don't know what they need, or most of them have read a book on behavior. If they're lucky, they've read a book on behavioral interviewing. How many of you as owners, literally, if the most important thing you do is hire people and build a staff, how many of you have literally built a great selection? I'm not even talking about a recruiting selection, which we could go that route, but how many have really built interviewing session? How many have really built the interviewing process to find out what you really need to hire? Okay. Tom, you look like you're going to say something.
No, this has got me thinking, Mel. This is really good, because the overarching problem that most cleaning businesses are dealing with right now is they do not have enough technicians to satisfy the demand for their service.
Yeah.
So, and everybody, the go-to thing is we have a recruiting problem, we have a hiring problem, but maybe it's an interviewing problem, or in a lot of cases, I think it's a retention problem. They hire a ton of people, they just don't keep enough of them. So if you kind of look at the whole pipeline from recruiting to turning somebody into a long-term successful employee, for all of us who are trying to do this, where do we start? Where's the place that we put our energy on, first?
Yeah, well, we can, okay. So part of the problem is we're so short, we hire anybody. If we really can get them to show up to the interview and they're almost half decent, we're going to give them a try. Okay.
You're picking the best bad alternative oftentimes.
Well, so the key is, how do you, and this, if you listen to this webinar, if you listen to one I did 2 weeks ago, if you listen to it tomorrow, the number one problem we have, and I just got through reading some statistics right now. Let me explain to you that this labor shortage problem is not going to go away. Okay, it was an ongoing problem. It is just a worse ongoing problem, and statistically, the number of people entering the workforce has gone down. Okay. The number of jobs have gone up. I can tell you, which number do you want? You want the number right now that there are 3.4 million people looking for jobs and 6.7 million openings?
Right.
You want the number? Okay, pick. You know what? That's the number. What does it mean? Do you recognize right now where part of this supply chain problem is basically the National Trucking Association says we're 65,000 truck drivers short. 65,000. Okay. 6 months ago, the number was 55,000, and a year ago was 45,000. So it's gone up 50% in the last 7 months or last year. We have less people entering the workforce, and the people who want to enter the workforce, how many of them really want to work? So I could give you, I can give you all kinds of numbers of what's out there, and it just, that, it's tough for getting applicants.
Well, how do we get around these bad numbers, Mel? I mean, the bad numbers aren't helpful.
Here's the great news, and here's the great news, and here's the bad news.
Okay.
It's good and it's bad.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is, right now, what they're reporting, and this is not 2,000 people, and this is not 20,000 people. This is hundreds of thousands of people. I just did a webinar at the end of last year focused on hourly employees. And I happen to have a bunch of people on there, had about 135 people on the webinar. And they're all confidential. And I said, okay, how many of you have taken a new job in the last year? This was in December. How many have been looking for a new job? How many are offering a new job? How many, if you haven't been looking, are going to start looking the first of the year? 92%.
Wow.
92% of them have either looked for a new job, taken a new job, going to start looking for a new job, ... Dang. So what's the great news? The great news is there are a lot of people out there looking for jobs, but they're all working. They're all, the ones you want are working. Okay. The other side of the coin is you better be building, and we could spend the time on this one too. What's your retention strategy? Who is I talk about for years, and if you've heard me speak probably 5 years ago, I always talk about turkeys and eagles. I have a turkey and I have an eagle. Okay. And I ask, how many people have you ever hired a turkey? Yeah. How many have you ever hired a turkey? All the hands go up. Well, have you hired a turkey? You know what we do? We hire a turkey, train a turkey, and motivate a turkey. You know what you got?
A turkey.
Trained, motivated turkey. And there are a number of things happening with turkeys and eagles. Number one, all the turkeys have learned to dress up and look like eagles. They're better at interviewing than most of the people out there because they get lots of practice. Okay.
That's good.
Okay. And in most cases, this is my standard shtick. And in most cases, they don't have to be any good, because if you've sat in an interview recently, I don't know if either of you have sat in interviews recently, actual interviews, but I have, and manager sits there and we get an applicant. So what do? We want to make them feel comfortable, right? So we sit them down, we offer them a drink. I can tell you where not to sit and where to sit, and I can talk all about the but we sit them down and what do? We want to make them feel. We tell them a little bit about our company, or we tell them, Tom, let me tell you what we're looking for. We need people who are dependable, reliable, conscientious. We need people who are hardworking. We need people who will be reliable and show up for work on time. We tell them what we're looking for, right? Isn't that standard?
Yeah, sure.
And then you ask them a question, and then we know we need to ask a question. So what's the question? So, Tom, I need people dependable, reliable, conscientious, and hardworking. Tell me about yourself. What do you say, Tom?
Conscientious, reliable, and hardworking.
Hardworking.
And I'm really hardworking. We told them exactly what we want the answer to be, and said, wow, we got a winner. No, you got a parrot. All the turkeys have learned to dress up and look like eagles. The other side of the coin, especially in the maids business, eagles don't always look like eagles.
Right.
You know
right.
what?
Good point, Mel. Really
Eagles
good.
don't look like eagles. How long does it take most managers, even if they're not hard up, but if they're hard up, how long does it take you to determine whether you like somebody or not? University of Chicago says we determine we like somebody or not in 7 seconds or less. 7 seconds. They smiled. They came in dressed properly. They showed up on time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this has got to be a winner. They're actually here on time.
They showed up at all.
They showed up. You know,
Yeah.
are we determined? I have prejudice. I admit I have prejudice. And somehow weight is a prejudice of mine.
Mm.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
People, I'm sorry, I admit it, but the best person I ever hired, one of the best hires I ever made, was probably 250 pounds overweight.
Oh,
She
that's a
was
chunk.
she was large.
That's a chunk.
Okay, but what I did is I recognize I have this prejudice. I guarantee you I recognize it every single day. And when I went to interview her, I recognized it and I wrote it down. Mel, on a piece of paper, not on the application blank. Never write anything on the application blank. They're legal documents. You have to put them in a file.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about the legal side, but I wrote it down. And then I said, Mel, forget it. Within the first 30 minutes of that interview, she was on a crash diet. She lost 220 pounds.
Holy cow.
That's how good she was.
In your mind. Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Good job.
recognized I had it. I said, I've got to get over it. I've got to put it
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
She lost 200 pounds easily in 30 minutes. Okay.
Nice.
But don't make the 7-second mistake
Mm-hmm.
on either side. You know what happens when we like somebody in an interview? We ask them the easy questions.
Yeah.
You
And
know
we
what
like
happens?
their answers.
Yeah. You know, when we don't like them, what do?
Yeah.
We ask them the hard questions.
Yeah. And we don't like their answers, no matter what they tell us.
That's
We're
it.
like, yeah, it could have been
So-
better. Their answer could have been better.
So that's okay. So eagles don't always look like eagles. You know, who's the most likely person to sue you? It's not your customers,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
your employees.
Sure.
The fastest growing area of lawsuits in this country is employment law. It's been that way for 30 years. And the only problem with employment law is, you know what? You're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Mhm.
Frustrating, but yeah.
And then number 4 is remember that eagles come to you because they want to and they leave because they can. And number 5,
Hold on. I'm still writing.
okay. Eagles come to you because they want to, they leave because they can.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay. And number 5 is A players only want to play on A teams.
Yeah. Yeah. It's totally true. That's why you let somebody steal in your company. If I'm an A player, I'm out of here.
Yep. So you begin. Okay. So we were gonna talk about the number 1 challenge right now. You said this webinar is supposed to be on recruiting, and we've been everywhere, including. But okay.
All of this stuff is good. This is everything that
Yeah.
everybody wants to hear.
Okay.
Because we all
So-
need to hear all of the things. We're
Okay.
trying to figure it out in this new paradigm that we're living.
This all falls into that same round. Okay, but let's focus for the last 20 minutes on recruiting. Let's just focus on it.
Okay.
Let me. This frustrating. You want to hire, okay? You want to hire what I call them star employees. You can call them. You want to put A players on your bus if you're going to go by Jim Collins. We want to hire winners. Okay. So here's my question. In today's competitive world, why would an A player want to join your team? That's the question.
It's a good question.
Why would I don't care what the job is. I don't care if it's a dispatcher. I don't care if it's a salesperson. I don't care if somebody cleans houses. I don't care if it's I don't care if it's a manager. I don't care. But why would they want to be on your team? What is your unique employment proposition? That's the
Unique
question.
employment proposition. That's good.
Mhm.
You know, you hear
You
about
should have
unique value
you
proposition.
may have a unique selling. Why should somebody use your maid service? If you don't have that, if you don't have that, do that one too. Okay. The number one question is, why should I buy your service, or why should I be a member of your team?
Yeah. And nowadays, I would say that number one is absolutely, why should they be a part of our team, right? That's got to take precedence right now.
It is. It's as bluntly as, okay, what is your unique? I call it a unique employment position.
I love
but-
that UEP. I already wrote it down.
Okay.
It's in
Do
it.
you have a list? Could be 5 items. It could be 10 items. I use 10. We like the number 10. It could be 7. I don't care how many is on. I have one company that has the list, and they sent it to me the first time. It was 2 words. Why do you come to work for us? They said, because we care.
Okay.
Okay.
And most of you, if you look at your competition, why should I come? And your competition is not just other services, okay? What is but your competition is anybody who hires that level of employee. Okay, but we care. Okay, it's and I can tell you, if you've got an organization, if you already have a company, if you've got some great people working for you right now, I will tell you the number one way to build that list is do something else, which we could again spend this whole hour talking about, is having stay conversations. The big thing nowadays is stay interviews. No, you're not having interviews, you're having conversations. Interviews are me controlling something. You and I are having a conversation. It's a whole different world. You may think it's changed the word, but people talk about stay interviews. No, you want to make them conversations. But
you know what?
Not go to your people
that matters. That one word makes a huge difference. Huge.
The power
It sets a completely different expectation.
Absolutely. And it's a paradigm shift, right? What you say, how you talk, that's different when you think that.
Uncommon common sense. But you got to hear it. It's like I have words. I nickel and dime some words together. I'll give you another example. And again, I'm going off track for a minute, but everybody talks about their culture. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks about what's your company culture. I hate the word culture. I hate it.
I'm sick of it.
I don't understand it. How about this word? What's your environment? To me, that's a better word. Maybe it's not. But to me, if somebody said, what's the environment like this? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it friendly? What's your culture? Okay. What's the environment like? It's just me. But interchange the word. What's your culture? What's your environment? Which word do you like better? I just like, you know
what I like better about the word environment is that's not a catchphrase right now. So that's actually going to make people think differently. That's a different conversation. If you say, I want to talk to you about our company culture, we have great culture. They've heard that. They've heard that from every single person that they're applying with. They're like, yeah. I know your company culture is amazing, but they haven't heard, let me talk to you about our company environment.
Yeah.
An environment is more tangible.
It's
easier to see, where culture is abstract. It's also,
but that's a word I like. I'm just saying, I like the word. I like the word environment. I'll be glad. I'd love to have the conversation with you on culture, environment. I can define culture. I finally got the definition of culture. Culture there's an old story about the four chimpanzees that were put in a cage. You may have heard the story. 4 chimpanzees were put in a cage, and they hung bananas at the top of the cage, and they put a rope. So if if chimpanzees wanted a banana, what did they do? They climbed the rope and they got the bananas. Okay. So this went on for about 3 weeks. And so anytime they wanted a banana, they'd climb up. And then all of a sudden, if a chimpanzee started to climb the rope to get a banana, they would spray ice water on the chimpanzees, all of them. After about 3 days, guess what?
Not climbing the rope.
No chimpanzee would climb the rope.
No way.
Okay, so they took one of the chimps out and put one who'd never been sprayed with ice water and put him in the cage. And he saw the rope. So what did he do? And he saw the bananas.
Climb the
He
rope.
started to climb the rope. Guess what the other 3 chimpanzees
Hold him down.
did? They beat the hell out of him.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So what did he learn? In about
Don't climb the rope.
Don't climb the rope. Over the next 3 weeks, they eliminated all the chimpanzees that had ever climbed the rope. Guess what?
What?
No chimpanzee would ever climb that rope. That was the culture. It's what you do, and you don't know why you do it, that determines what we do around this organization.
Okay.
Okay, I like your 4 chimpanzee.
Okay.
It's a
But
hard
where
word
was
to
this?
say.
But we were talking about recruiting. Okay. You need to build a list of the reasons a great employee should come to work for. And you could put benefits on there, but you know what? They better be better than anybody else's benefits if they go on the list.
Yeah.
And mainly it's not the hard stuff, it's the soft stuff that makes the difference.
Yeah.
I took one that wasn't, and you go look at your competition, look at other industries, say, what's their employment proposition? I took one. I loved Branson Air. This is from him. I made it part of Humetrics list. We want to train you well enough that you can leave, but treat you so well you'll want to stay.
Nice. I love it. Yeah.
You know, I added to the list. You know what? I got this one from somebody else, one of my clients, convenience store industry. You know what's on his list? You'll never have to ask for a raise. The day you earn it, we pay it.
Okay.
And we could spend the whole time just talking about that one thing. When do you give your first raise? Okay. And we could make that part of another webinar. But when do you give your first raise? You know when most people give their first raise? 90 days. But I hired Tom. In the first 2 weeks, he was doing what most people do at the end of 3 months. But what do I do? When do I give him his raise? I penalize him for being great. I make him wait.
That's true. I think in our industry, everybody gets a raise when they get out of training, as soon as they get out of training. But to your point, if they already have like some previous experience and they don't have to go spend 2 weeks in training or 3 weeks or whatever, why would they be getting penalized, have to be forced through this entire training program and then wait for their raise? So,
okay. But if you want to win the war for workers, you will build a list. Okay. And I was going to tell you the best way to build a list is hopefully you have some great employees.
Yeah.
Start your stay conversations by going to them and saying, look, I'm working a list of, tell them, I just listened to a webinar and they talked about, I need a list of why great people work here. You're one of my great people. Why do you work here? What gets you out of bed and makes you show up every day for work?
ask. Novel idea, Mel. Just ask the question.
How did it make, Liz, how did it make you feel in role playing if I said, Liz, you're one of our great people. Let me ask you a question. What makes you get up and go to work every day here? What makes you excited to be here? How did I make you feel by just asking you and putting it that way?
Absolutely. You make me feel like I matter. Like what I have to say is important. Yeah, absolutely.
We could go down a whole nother path with that. But that, again, these all take down little paths. We're going down little paths at one time.
What you're sharing, Mel, is like another example of common sense that's not very common.
Yeah.
No, it's what I call uncommon common sense.
Yeah.
Okay. But the fact of the matter is I wrote out a definition of uncommon common sense. Common sense is doing what needs to be done in the most efficient and effective manner with the time, money, and other resources available. Common sense is doing what needs to be done in the most efficient and effective way based on the time and money and resources available. If you had unlimited resources, you could do all kinds of things. You haven't got unlimited time. You haven't got unlimited money. But based on what you have, what do you do efficiently and effectively to do it? And when you have the knowledge, but you don't have the common sense, that's nonsense. When you have the knowledge plus common sense, that's wisdom. When you have knowledge and common sense, that's wisdom. Wisdom, I've given you wisdom today. I've given you ideas. I've given you things you can use.
Yeah.
If you don't take action on this, that's no sense. And wisdom plus action equals progress and improvement. I was telling you I did a webinar, and I'll make the same offer here. If we've got people listening to this, if they'll send me their top 10 list, I'll send them a gift. If you email me your top 10 list, I'll send you a gift.
Well, give us your email address, Mel, because I have a feeling you're going to get taken up on that offer.
Yeah.
It's mkleiman@humetrics.com. You may have a slide with it or not, or an introduction, but it's mkleiman, Kleiman, @humetrics.com.
Okay.
If you send me, so I did this to a group 3 weeks ago. And I said, how many of you in this room? And there were about 80 people in this room. I said, how many think that's a great idea? All the hands went up. I said, how many are you going to do it? About 20 hands went up. 80 said it was great. 20 hands went up.
Yeah.
I only got 5 lists.
Yeah.
That's what I expected.
Yeah.
But if you don't, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what.
No, that's no sense. Action is no sense.
Yes. Let me tell you with the list. You take that list and you use it to marketing your job. Here's the reasons people come to work for us.
You know what I like that's better about this, Mel? So I think nowadays everybody is putting like their top 10 lists there, right? Here's what we do. Blank, 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 bullet, 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 bullet. They got 10 lists, whatever. But you know what's different is here's why other people come to work for us. That changes it. That's different. That's not the same thing as here's what we do, here's what we have. It's different when you're thinking this is why people come to work for us. It's like, oh, yeah, I would like that too. It makes you think in a different way. It's not the same old thing you've read a million times.
Okay, okay, so you use that list for marketing. I will tell you, I have one client. There's only 3 things on their list, and they have as harder job in Made Central, but they've got 3 things on their list. Number 1 is we work hard. Number 2 is we have fun, and number 3 is we care. That's all that's on their list. If you don't want to work hard, and you don't want to have fun, and you don't want to work, don't come to work for us. But let me tell you how well they lived their values. When the pandemic came, they turned around and they guaranteed every single one of their employees hourly their entire salary until the pandemic went away, or they could put them back to work.
Nice.
Okay.
Wow.
This company has 300 locations, and management said we will take no salary until this is over.
Wow. That was not easy because nobody knew how long it was going to take. How long until it would be over?
I'm just making a statement.
Yeah.
They live their values.
Yeah.
Okay. If you build the list, let me tell you what. You want a better interviewing question than 90% of us ever ask?
Sure.
Take the list and put it in front of every single applicant and say, these are the top 5 reasons our employees work here, and this is why they stay, and this is why they come to work every single day. Of all the things on this list, which one is most important to you?
Nice.
And why?
Well, first of all, which one, it is a why, but which one is most important to you and why? What you found out was their key motivator and driver. When was the last time you knew somebody's key motivator and driver?
It's hard to find out for sure.
Okay. If you post the list on the back of every single manager's door and you make them accountable for living up to the list, you've now identified your environment and you're reinforcing it.
This is good stuff, Mel. Very good stuff.
Really good. One of the things I like about everything that you're saying here today, Mel, is it appears to me that these are ideas that have been around for a long time, but have not been acted on, and they've been tweaked for our new environment. We are in a new place, and we have to do some things a little bit different. But bottom line is we still need good people. We can't just hire any old bodies. We still need good people.
Okay. So we have 6 minutes left, and we built the list. Now let's talk about the absolute #1 best proven source of great employees. #1 proven source of great employees.
Okay, you got my attention.
You
I
ready?
already know.
Okay.
I know this one.
All the great people who have ever worked for you.
Okay.
When was the last
They're the
time you
best.
picked up the phone and called somebody who left you and tell them you'd like to have them back? What's the worst answer you get?
I got another job.
Nope.
Nope.
Or
Sorry.
or how about this one? And this is an actual answer. No, I would love to come back to you, but I'll never come back and work for that manager.
Oh,
Really? Why not?
ouch.
Because she's stealing from our customers. And you know what she was doing, that manager?
What?
She was stealing.
Oh, yeah.
But because we called, we found out. So we picked up the phone, we called that person back the next week and said, thank you very much. We'd love to have you back. And that manager is now gone. Win, win.
Yeah, big win.
When was the last time you picked up the phone and called somebody who's left you and asked them if they'd like to come back? When was the last time, if you, and again, this takes a whole new path. You lose a great employee. You know how soon you call them and ask if they'd like to come back right now? Within 1 week. Within 1 week of them taking the new job, pick up the phone and call them.
Okay.
Wow.
You know why?
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because when they got there, the grass weren't any greener and the cost of water and upkeep was too high. But they wouldn't pick up the phone and call you and admit they made a mistake. But what would happen if you called them and said, hey, I just wanted to check out, we really missed you. I'd love to have you come back. You know what?
And if they're still in the honeymoon phase, there's no law that says I can't call them again in another week.
Yep.
Or in
Or
2
say,
months.
or you can say, hey, look, we'd like to have you come back. If you find out that, what that opening that other company had was because they really weren't as great as they said everybody they were in the first place. And they don't have any friends over there yet.
Yeah.
And they haven't figured out the system. So pick up the phone and call people who have left you. Call them within the first week. So that's the key. Yeah.
We have, it's amazing how quickly an hour goes when you're having fun.
Yeah.
This was This was some really good stuff, Mel. Truly, and very timely. I wanted to take just a minute and share your website if you want to reach Mel. We've already dropped his email in chat, but I'll drop the link to his website. Mel has written some of the most impactful books on this whole area of hiring and building a workforce that anybody in the industry has. So I would go to the store. All these are, I assume, Mel, are available for purchase.
Looks like it.
And so you can reach Mel either through the email that was sent. Here's his email up here again. Has a phone number. Mel is a resource, and he helps businesses with coming up with these processes to do hiring. You know, as we've just discussed, you know, a lot of times we spend too much time focusing on problems that wouldn't be problems if we did a better job of hiring. So this is a go-to resource. Save that link. Reach out to Mel. Let him help you.
And one more thing about that is I talk to people all the time and they're like, yeah, but this system that I'm using, it has always worked. So they're just keep wanting to do that same thing over and over again. Like, I'm going to say, hey, stop already. It's not working today. Call Mel and see, do something new, try something different. What you're doing is not working. It's time to try something new, something better.
We are in unprecedented times. What used to work doesn't necessarily work now.
Well, it was interesting. It was interesting, Tom. Just recently, I had very specifically somebody in the house cleaning business who has a small franchise company, and he was having it with the pandemic. He's got more business that he can handle. Customers want him, and he can't handle it because he has no staff. And we looked at his marketing material and just changed it. He bought a couple of hours worth of consulting, and within 3 weeks, he was totally staffed.
Nice.
I mean, there's things we can do. So make it, and I hopefully with this, you see, there's some simple things you can do, but we're here to help. That's bluntly what I do. I just like helping people do this nowadays. So.
Thank you so much, Mel. I feel like this is amazing for us. So I'm going to be passing this information on to everybody in my circles. Tom, I know you're going to be passing it on in Made Central. So we're going to overcome this problem that people are dealing with.
Yeah. Mel, thank you. It's been a tremendous pleasure.
Thank you for letting me share. Thank you for letting me share.
And Mel, don't think I didn't hear you when you said that maybe we could talk about that on another time, because you're on my list. You're going to expect an email.
Yes.
Well, maybe you can do a better job of keeping me on track next time.
I thought that what you did today was amazing. I have 4 pages of notes.
Okay. If you only got 3, if you got 3 pages of note, I was successful. Okay.
We go in the direction where the inspiration is taking us.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily have to follow we're kind of like the View for house cleaning businesses. We go where the discussion wants to go. Thank you, Mel. Take care.
Thank you. Don, thank you for the note. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Talk to y'all later. Bye.
We'll be back next Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern. Bye-bye.
If anybody has any questions, reach out to me and I will be glad to help you. So talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.